Okay, we're finally finishing our discussion about Newton's algorithm for optimization with this video, where I'm going to actually code and show you an implementation of the Newton-Raphson algorithm for the logistic regression problem, where we are trying to find the maximum likelihood estimation for logistic regression. Now, recall we looked at in the previous video, we spent some time trying to construct the objective function where we really analyze the likelihood function. Then we also found the gradient and we found the Hessian. That took some time, that took some energy. And then once we had that, we had our Newton-Raphson iterates. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually analyze a data set or fit the logistic regression model on a particular data set. So far in the course, I've basically been only able to give you simulated data to actually show you what are the things that are going on. But here we're going to look at a real data set, which is the very famous Titanic data set. So now I'm giving you a particular version of the Titanic data set that I have uploaded on this particular website. So in order to load the data set, which is available in a CSV format, and we're going to do read.csv, add the URL, and that is going to be saved in Titanic. Now, very, very quickly, it went to the website and loaded the data set from there. Now what I'll do is I'll do head of the Titanic data set, which gives me the first few rows and all the columns. So here are the columns. The first column is survived, which is basically 0 or 1 about the passengers on the Titanic and whether they survived or not. So these are passengers in addition to crew members on the Titanic. What is the dimension of the Titanic data set? It is 712 by 7. Now, of the 7 columns, one of them is the response, the 0 or 1 of whether people survived or died. And so that means there are 6 covariates overall. And there's information about 712 passengers / crew of the Titanic. Now, what are the other covariates? Well, the first covariate is just the intercept term, which is just 1. So it's just a column of ones, which is just very similar to our intercept in linear regression. We have an intercept beta 0 for basically the similar reason. Okay, so that's one of them. The second is the sex of the passenger, whether they were male, which is 1, or female, which is 0. Okay, so the baseline is going to be 1, whether the person was a man or a woman, right? So that's 1, 0, 0, 0. So the first passenger was a man. The age of the passenger was 22 years old. They boarded the ship with one sibling or spouse, okay? So SP means whether they boarded with the sibling or spouse. The parch is another covariate information, which I think whether they had any children on board with them or not, if I remember correctly. And so the 22-year-old person did not have any children on board with them. And what is the fare of the ticket? Well, it was a relatively cheap ticket. It was only 7.25 British pounds. Okay. The second, and this person did not survive. This person died. The second passenger survived, was a woman, was 38 years old, did board the ship with a spouse, did not have any children, and paid about 71 British pounds for their ticket, and so on. Okay, so the survived column basically tells us whether the person survived or not, and we want to use the information of their gender, their sex, their age, whether they came in with people, and how much did they pay for the ticket. And we want to use this to actually understand what beta is and what their probabilities of success are. Okay. Now what I'm going to do in order to fit the logistic regression model is I'm going to fit f dot gradient, which is going to be my gradient function, which I've already found out in my previous video. So the gradient function will take your vector of y's, your matrix of x's, and your beta current value of the beta. Okay. Now I'm not going to go over the code very carefully, but make sure you go over the code line by line to see exactly how the mathematical expressions in the previous video in your notes correspond to the code over here. Okay. I run this. And then I also have Hessian. Now Hessian, you remember, was minus x transpose wx. So I create a diagonal matrix of the w's, and then I do minus X transpose times W times X, and that's my return value. So that's my Hessian, F dot Hessian. Now I need to extract from my Titanic data set my Y, my responses, and my X, which is everything but the responses. So I just remove the first column, which was the responses, from my Titanic data set, convert it to a matrix from a data set, and that's my X matrix. What is my P? How many dimensions does X have? That is going to be 6, I believe. And what is the length? How many observations do I have? That I believe is going to be 712. Now I have cleaned the data, or I have sort of maneuvered the data in a way that's palatable to this problem. And I have two functions, one each for the gradient and for the Hessian. Now I am ready to implement my Newton's algorithm. So I, as before, set my tolerance. I set a large value for compare, what the value I'm going to compare tolerance to. And I set my counter, or the iteration index k, to be 1. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to store the gradient vector, okay, for every single iteration that I run the Newton-Raphson for. I will store not the gradients, I will store the norm of the gradients. Recall that I want to stop when the norm of the gradient is small. So I'm going to store the norm of the gradients in order to see it, visualize it at a later point. And I'm going to start from the 0 vector, right? Like we discussed in the notes in the last video, I'm starting from the 0 vector. And then I start. So beta dot new is the current beta. And I just do this for some ease. I actually don't think I need to do this, so I can probably remove this. And while compare is greater than tolerance, remember compare is a large number in the beginning, and while it's larger than tolerance, I track the iterations, I increase the iteration by 1. Right? Now I find the gradient vector, which is gradient. Then I find the Hessian matrix, which is this. Then and be sure to pass on the current value of beta k, in the calculation of the gradient and the Hessian. Now beta dot new, the new value of beta is the old value minus the inverse of the Hessian. Now instead of using solve, which can sometimes be a little unstable, I use qr dot solve times the gradient. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to save the second norm, or the Euclidean norm of this particular gradient vector in grad.vec at iter. Okay. And this is just so I can track what the gradient vector looks like, for just to understand a particular concept we'll get to later. Now, the current value becomes the new value, and then I keep iterating it until my compare, which is the norm of the gradient, becomes less than tolerance. Okay, so I run this for my whole problem. So it'll take a little bit of time. And when I print iter, it says 8, which means in 8 iterations, it converged to its solution. And if I look at beta.new, which is going to be my last guess, or the last iterate at which I found convergence to the actual solution, it becomes this particular vector, right? So what this is trying to say is that the regression coefficient is 1.5 for the intercept, minus 2.5 for gender, or sorry, for sex, of whether it's a person. Then what this number actually implies is that a male passenger or crew is less likely to survive because of the negative sign over here. Okay, again, we are unfortunately not going to be able to go into a lot of interpretations and meanings behind the logistic regression model. But because we're only focusing on the conceptual concept behind the computation. But the story being that we can actually fit this logistic regression. Okay, and what do we do this with this beta.new? Suppose I have a new, or a passenger, okay, with the following attributes. What are their attributes? So suppose that they're male, aged 20, Okay. Suppose the number of people they came with was 0. They didn't come up with anybody. They had no kids. And then the fare for their ticket was like £5. Okay. So this might be something, if you've seen the movie Titanic, this is maybe something like Jack or Leonardo DiCaprio's character of very low ticket, came alone, very young and male. So then their xi for this person will be 1 for the intercept, 1 for male, aged 20, number of people coming with 0 for both, and fare 5. Okay, so then what is their probability of surviving? So this is what I want to answer. Well, the probability of surviving pi, I know, is nothing but e to the power xi transpose beta by 1 plus e to the power xi transpose beta. So if I have found my beta and I know my xi, I can find pi. So pi in this case is 1 divided by, so this in this thing, this whole thing can also be simplified as 1 by this quantity, right? As we discussed in the notes. So this becomes 1 by 1 plus x e to the power minus transpose of xi times beta dot nu, right? Xi transpose beta. So if I run this, and then what is pi? Now remember, this describes the character of Jack, and Jack died on the Titanic, if you remember, spoiler alert. And if I look at pi, it says that the probability of survival for Jack or somebody with these characteristics is 0.2. So they were highly unlikely to actually survive. There was an 80% chance that they would have died. Okay, that's really what the logistic regression model allows us to do. But let's come back to the Newton-Raphson iterate, right? So if I look at this, now I also want to look at what happened in each of those 8 iterations. What I can do is, remember, I saved the gradient obtained in each of those iterations. And if I plot the gradient as a function of the iteration, then this is really what I get. I get a really large value of the gradient in the beginning. Don't know why that is. It's a really large value. Also, the first number is basically not available. And then the gradient is really in the thousands to begin with. So it's very far away, but very quickly, within 8 iterations, it essentially comes down to a number very, very close to 0, right? And this is a plot of something we'll actually look at quite intently in next week's videos when we talk about gradient ascent or gradient descent. Okay, so hopefully this multivariate implementation of the Newton-Raphson's algorithm makes sense to you. The multivariate problem is really where a lot of these are used. In a univariate problem, you don't really need sophisticated, complicated numerical techniques. It's when the dimension increases, do we have to resort to these things? So make sure you understand some of these concepts going forward.